well worth the wait. Ember is fucking awesome!
I am torn in two. Hold on, we're barely alive. I am fed.
So, Ember, released just recently in 2018, is Breaking Benjamin's 6th album. Highly anticipated for a long time, and by God, it delivers on all the hype that built up since the end of last year. Now, I'll try and look at this album as though it's already been out for a while and try not to let the hype of its release overshadow my thoughts on it. I know everyone's still recovering from having their minds blown, and I can't say that I'm any different. The track list is Lyra, Feed the Wolf, Red Cold River, Tourniquet, Psycho, The Dark of You, Down, Torn in Two, Blood, Save Yourself, Close Your Eyes and Vega. Now let's start, shall we? This was advertised by the band as their heaviest album ever, or at least that they were going to be going heavier with this album than they had done previously. I think they delivered on that promise very well. This is definitely the darkest and heaviest overall album we've ever got from BB. Songs like Red Cold River and Tourniquet, Down and even The Dark of You to some extent are really heavy by Breaking Benjamin standards. The intro-outro songs have made another return once again. This time in the form of Lyra and Vega. I like how they made Lyra lead directly into Feed the Wolf and Close Your Eyes leads directly into Vega at the start and end of the album. And I think Vega could quite possibly be a strong contender for outro from Phobia as my favourite outro piece. It was that good. Red Cold River is probably one of the 3 heaviest songs here, and it was also the first single to be released early back in January. I think it's a good and badass song. But I have to say that after listening to the rest of the album, it's probably my least favourite song on Ember. To me it just feels a bit blandish compared to the others, but if anyone else likes it then that's fine by them. The Dark of You also marks a first for the band, as we have the first ever duet style song, not counting the remix that shall not be named. Derek Howe did a cover video for Ashes of Eden a couple of years ago, and now he's featuring on an official Breaking Benjamin song. Lucky him! I have to say I really didn't think I would enjoy Dark of You at first, but that turned out to be the biggest miscalculation of the century. Dark of You is gorgeous and one of the best from the album. It's the least heaviest in terms of music in my opinion, but the tone and themes here it has are just so dark. And the lyrics are just teeming with darkness too. It's like the Forever or the Forget It of Ember. Psycho is one song that I've been thoroughly enjoying since it came out. This song in particular is one of the few songs that I actually feel a genuine personal connection with, as I commented on my Ember reaction a few days ago. I find that I'm able to apply Psycho to my own autism quite well, and that's why I feel emotionally invested in this song more than most others. But again, that is just a personal thing with me, so, you know, great song in its own rights too, and probably my favourite of the pre-releases. Torn in Two is probably the most anticipated song off the album, as it was leaked as far back as Dark Before Dawn. While it isn't my favourite off the album, like the hype was making out that it could have been, it's about as good as I expected and sounds very fresh for the band. I really wasn't expecting them to finish Torn in Two the same way they ended So Cold way back in We're Not Alone, so that was quite the pleasant surprise. And actually that's something that I found cropping up quite a bit with Ember. While some parts of some songs do resemble or bear similarities to other Breaking Benjamin songs from the past, there's also a heavy dose of brand new stuff. Heavy dose. Heavy album. No? Okay. Tourniquet and Down are both unlike anything BB has ever done before, and Down actually reminded me of Five Finger Death Punch quite a bit, of all things. Tourniquet I wasn't too sure on at first, but now it's become one of my favourites off the album as well. Ember manages to be very heavy and yet still retains that Breaking Benjamin emotion that any album they did just wouldn't be complete without, which I think makes it all the more impressive. Close Your Eyes is the perfect closer for the album and really helps to tie the thing together before the Vega send-off. Now I'm sure if I was a professional music critic I could say so much more about this album, but I think I've got my point across that I love Ember, and I know many people will agree with me. I've done my best to try and narrow down just a few personal favourites, and those are Tourniquet, Psycho, The Dark of You,
Fade away to the wicked world we left, and I become the dark of you.
Down,
Fight, we'll fight, and bury our lives. We'll break.
Torn in Two,
I will fight this war for you, and let the dark
and Close Your Eyes.
take away the dark inside, and lead me to the light.
So, Ember is a fantastic album, but do I think it's better than my current personal favourite, Dear Agony? Tough question. We'll see when the release hype has worn down a bit, but I would say it definitely has the potential to do so. And also, coincidentally, it also gets the same score as Dear Agony, 5 bearded bends out of 5. Well, that's the end of this mini-series, I'm afraid, of BB album reviews. If I'm still doing YouTube in a few years and Breaking Benjamin bring out another album, then I'll certainly review it. Perhaps I would have improved by then. But for now, it's goodbye from me and my weird Ben scoring system. But if you want, then feel free to check out some of my other videos if you haven't already, and maybe consider subscribing. You know, help a guy out perhaps. Well, that's that, guys, and farewell. I'm going to walk off this way for once. You didn't see that coming, did you?